This is how we meditate at home. We always want to start half a minute of silence and end with 2 or 3 minutes of silence. Okay, so we're going into second session this week. We're blessed, starting off with a full group meditation. And in fact, that's one of the 108 ways to raise your vibration. It's called superradiance in quantum physics, which is group meditation. It's so powerful. In the last course and probably some other ones I've had, I mentioned I was in a program in DC a few decades ago where 10,000 people came together from all over the world. And literally, just by getting together and meditating, the crime rate went down, admission to hospitals went down, accidents, and all this was predicted in advance because it's coherence. So when that resonance comes off of a coherent brain and nervous system, it creates orderliness. Remember that third law of thermodynamics that says when the system goes down to absolute zero, that's what you're doing when you become still. Okay. The system settles down. You start tapping in, tuning in, and turning on. And you start to be who you really are without the conditionings, programmings, and the paradigms that people paint themselves into. Some people get, even more heavy about it. They say, that life is a hallucination. It's like a mirage, something that's not real. But as you know, it's real when you're in it. But knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. So as you change your consciousness, the whole outer world changes. As above, so below. As within, so without. So every opportunity that you can get to really raise your consciousness and raise your frequency and vibration, take it. Do it, because it will uplift your life and everyone and everything around you. And so it's such a blessing. In fact, I was telling you that there's ooga booga going on, and corporate stuff and Wall Street, but there's also some consciousness on Wall Street, and we're going to talk more about that. In fact, the guy with the biggest hedge fund, private hedge fund in the world, is a long time meditator. In fact, he's funded what is called the David Lynch Foundation, and his name is Ray Dalio. But there was a gentleman who would drive from Connecticut to New York. He's an investment banker, and it's about an hour to 90-minute drive every day. And a colleague of mine, and he knew the value of the group meditation. So he said, "Look, I'll give you $100,000 just to drive with me from Connecticut to New York. Not even every day, 5 days a week. That's it." And he saw the value of that. Pay somebody 100 G's just to do group meditation with. Now that's when you start to have insight and you know what's going on, And it's like, I have group, in fact, I'm gonna have one coming up soon. And invitation goes out to hundreds of people. I mean, I've initiated thousands, but back in the day, we didn't have the list. In fact, some of you from DC might remember that back in the day, there was a global TM center up on up by the Washington Hilton over there off of Connecticut Avenue. Okay, there's a little street there, and the name of the street it'll come to me, but it's just a little street. It's only 1 block long. It's back there where the embassies are and stuff. And we actually used to put people when they got instructed at my center on in Park Road, the little 3x5 cards. And then we would take them to the worldwide TM organization. It was actually called the World Plan Executive Council. And we would take that list and put it over there. But I never kept a list. And most of the TMC centers, around the country, we never, and it would be, those lists would be valuable today. In fact, my list would be close to 4,000 people. And I think I only have about 200. But the point is that, and we would have group meditations every week, every single solitary week. And people would come out, and along with that group meditation, there was also some activation and some knowledge. In fact, I remember, and we're going to have that also as we get further. I'm getting ready to set up a membership thing, part of the Institute. And there was a whole lecture on love and love being in terms of the self, that you didn't really love anybody else. You really love yourself. And it was a reflection of that. Love is in terms of the self. All right. And we had that on Valentine's Day. And at the end of that, some people were, not too happy about it, especially the sisters, because it's basically saying you don't really love nobody else. Okay. You really love yourself, and everything is a reflection of yourself. But as you grow in consciousness, you really realize that, and your cup is always running over. Okay. But love is in terms of the self, and love is God. There's only one definition of love of God in the Bible, and it says God is love. And it is, but it's the unconditional love. It's not the Greeks labeled 4 different ways. There's agape love, there's this eros love. It's 4 different major categories. But the one that's unconditional, unbounded, infinite, eternal is God, universe, source. Okay. So this is the takeaway. So you can pull it back up, and any points of clarification, comments, we still, want to put into play what we learned on Monday, but this is kind of like, a checkpoint. And so who would like to share so I don't have to call on nobody? Okay.
I'll start. One of the things, J. Rue, I was thinking about what Brother Ron had stated the other day when he was asking, do we sometimes push too hard if we're looking for the prosperity? And I happened to be listening to the book that you recommended, the Prosperity Plan, the 40-Day Prosperity Plan. And a young man mentioned that when we focus too much on the effect, that's the wrong thing. So we have to refocus and recenter and focus on the cause.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it or listen to it. It's just something I struggle with myself.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've read it like 5 or 6 times. I've been doing this thing for a while, But yeah, that's a very good point. And the brother who wrote the abundance book is also the same brother that wrote Super Beings. So those of you who were in my class before, and if you haven't read Super Beings, also get that and read it. Okay. John Randolph Price with Super Beings, which is what we are becoming, which is our essential nature. Another word for a super being would be someone who's in Christ consciousness, someone who's in God consciousness, someone who is in enlightened During Buddha's time, it was called nirvana. Okay. So, and that is the natural state that human beings should be at. So we're raising ourselves back up to our natural glory. Okay. And that's how we were in ancient Kemet. That's how we were in Atlantis. That's how we were in Lemuria. Also sometimes referred to as Pan, the magic land of Pan. And there's an ascended master. His name is Afro. Okay. You know, like Afro. And he actually has an afro, just like the brother who was on the planet for a while called Sai Baba. If you look up Sai Baba, he has this huge afro. You know, he's a brother. Okay. And even though he started getting up in years, he would just turn his hair black, you know. So, people would, buy into the thing that you're getting old. Because you have that ability. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to use dye, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you want to make your hair, your eyes, remember the guy I told you about with the leg, he just grew his leg out. You can do whatever you want to do. Okay. But that comes with, mastery and getting out of the paradigm, the conditioning, the program. But yeah, that is a very, very, very good point, because we're so conditioned to effects. And when we want to change something, we want to, move the effects around. And just like what you were saying, Martin and Ron was saying, and especially the way we've been brought up, is to push too much, just make it happen too much. That's where the thing comes in. Let go, let God. You put in your order, just think about it. When you're at a restaurant, when you got it in your mind that they're going to deliver the food. Sometimes it might, depending on the type of restaurant, like this restaurant that I go here is slow, organic. So if you go there, expect to spend 45 minutes to an hour before you get your food. They make everything fresh. Okay. And, if you just happen to stop by, they think you're going to get something quick to eat, forget it. But I work a deal with them because I go there on a regular basis. Normally you call in the takeout. They don't let you do call in and order your food in advance, because people might not show up and this and that. But I said, look, take care of me. So I want to order my food and then show up. So I order my food and I come 45 minutes and an hour later, boom, it's right there, ready to go. It's like, okay, but that's not part of their program. But my frequency and my vibration, and they appreciate me, I appreciate them. They said, whatever you want, J. Rue, we'll do it for you. Okay. So, yes, focus on the cause is so important. It's so important. All right. Which is you. Remember, 3 people in the universe. You guys tell me, who are those 3 people? Come on, participation. Who are the 3 people?
You, and you, me, myself, and I.
There you go. And literally, the whole interaction in life, you're literally and you're literally playing with yourself. and we're not talking like a sexual content series, but you literally are playing with yourself. All right. And it's legal and liable. Okay. So yeah. Cause. Self. Right. As above, so below. As within, so without. Life is an inside job. And it originates with your thoughts. Thoughts are things. Okay. And everything comes from an idea, which is within your own mind. The mouth of God is the mind of man. And there's nothing that you cannot be, do, or have. You're the power. You're the master. You're the God, goddess. But you got to step up to that reality. But that's your inherent birthright. God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Where does God end and you begin? And as you know, God doesn't end. All right. But we have free will. So your free will, you have the free will to not do the will of the universe or the will of God. And that's where the tripping comes in. All right. It's just like a friend of mine I was talking to, and she was saying, you know, I've been really tripping lately. I said, welcome to planet Earth. You know, that's part of, you know, what is called the contrast. But what happens as you grow in consciousness, you trip less and you get over faster. Okay. You end up tripping less and you get over it faster. But you're still going to trip because this whole experience is based on duality. All right. Black and white, good and bad, up and down, male and female. But that's the fake out. That's the separation. It's really oneness, unity. That's the underlying thing. You see? It's really, you know, they say that we're, you know, human beings, but the more you grow in consciousness, you know, and notice I use the word know, just like be still and know. You know that you are a spiritual being, having a human experience. And not only that, you're 1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000% spiritual. Everything is spiritual. In fact, that was the first thing that when Maharishi came out of a cave for 4 years, and you got to imagine what kind of, you know, mastery over your body you got to have stay in a cave up in the Himalayas where they're glaciers. It's nothing but ice. It's glaciers. Okay. All right. And it came to him, SRM, Spiritual Regeneration Movement. Okay. To spiritually regenerate the world. And that comes from each individual doing it himself. And thank God, you know, we've gone over this before. We don't need everybody. But great people like yourselves, the more you function from the inside and function from the cause and keep raising your frequency and your vibration, you help the entire world. In fact, the entire universe, because it's all connected. It's not just all us connected here on planet Earth. You know, in fact, on another planet, we're ETs, extraterrestrial. Okay. And the universe is teeming with life. Okay. There's trillions and zillions of life forms in the universe. And this is just one universe. There's universes within universes, worlds without end. The mind can't even comprehend the expansion, the eternal, the infinite, unbounded aspect of the universe, which is also you. But you can experience it and you can be it, you see. And that's the beauty of collective consciousness. You know, a great psychiatrist went over to India back in the day, and he actually coined this phrase. It's called collective unconsciousness. after he had went over to the East, went over to India and came back. His name is Carl Jung. Some of you've probably heard of him if you've been in that, in when you were in school or you're in that field. And it's spelled Jung. Okay. And he came back with the term collective unconsciousness, which is how most of the planet is functioning. You're unconscious. You just do stuff and you're being conditioned. So as we move into and ascend into higher states of consciousness, and the planet is ascending into higher states of consciousness, literally, which is a live being, then you start to get into the collective consciousness, not the unconscious. You see, you get into the collective consciousness. And so that's what we're doing here. As a small group, you see, we radiate out and create an effect. So first you're creating an effect on the trillions of cells in your own body, which are conscious, right? And then it radiates out to every person, place, and thing, because everything has consciousness. Even a rock has consciousness. Your computer has consciousness. Everything is. That's why it's such a joke. People say that people don't have a soul. You cannot have you gotta have a soul. It might be covered up. It might be, jacked up. It might be darkened. But what's quickening it? Okay. You see what I'm saying? And that's part of that separation too. The devil's over there. It's not part of me. And they the bad person. I'm gonna put it on them. I'm not taking no responsibility for it. Devil made me do it. Okay. But as the Rev said, you put the pitchfork in his hand, you put the horns on him, you put the tail on him. Because as above, so below. So when your thoughts become manifest, and the thoughts that manifest are the ones that you put the most attention on, whether you're conscious of it or not, coming from your subconscious, which is where your power is. Remember, the power is at the more subtle levels. Say, I take this pen, I throw it against the computer. It has a little impact. And I purposely didn't throw it too hard because I don't want to mess up my screen, okay? But the same pen, you take it to a more subtle level, you go down to the molecules, okay? You take it down even further, it goes into the atoms. That's where they developed the atomic bomb from. You take it down even to a more subtle level, you take it into the nucleus, okay? The neutron, the electrons, that's where the nuclear bomb came from. And you go into quantum physics, you can go even further. You go into what they call quarks and all these subatomic particles. And there's more and more power. It's the same thing that's happening when you're meditating. You start from a gross conscious level, which is about 5 or 10%, and then you transcend, you go beyond into deeper and deeper levels using the mantra as a vehicle, and then you transcend the mantra. And you transcend the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious areas of your mind until you go to the being, pure consciousness, pure creative intelligence, okay? Referred to as self with the big S, right? And that's where the power is. That's where the God force is, they say they're looking for the God particle. The God particle is everywhere. You see? That's that, thing. I am here. I am there. I am divine love and blessings everywhere. Because it's everywhere. Omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipresent. That's what omnipresence is. But not only is it omnipresent, it's omnipotent. It's all powerful. And I'm omniscient. And you're all of that. but it comes from a level of consciousness and realization. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Anyone else have a takeaway?
Well, this is William. What I have found is that there is a certain level of, one, self-discipline, two, that will lead to the ultimate love for oneself, which will also lead to digging yourself out of operating from a space of desperation and negativity, which is taught to us by parents and society. I'm finding that once you truly focus on yourself and stop being triggered by the ooga booga, as you would say, the little stuff, which I've gotten better about not being triggered by every little negative thing that happens, somebody walking across the street when they're not supposed to, all that little stuff. But I found that once the self-discipline kicks in, once you absolutely love yourself, like you said, and it'll be a reflection when you walk into a room, and then I can stop operating from this sense of desperation and from this negativity that I've been taught since I was 5 years old. And, I'm 47. And so, and it may take a little time and practice along with the transcendental meditation for that abundance to come through. And I've learned also that a win is a win, and to be thankful for the small wins. Okay. You get a scratch off ticket, you win $10. Okay, I'm grateful for that. Need more, but I'm grateful for that. Somebody decides they want to help you out of the blue, or you ask for somebody's help and they give it to you. Okay, you got to be grateful for that. And then once you operate from a space of, oh, okay, these small wins, I'm grateful for that. I'm pushing, I have more love for myself. That's when more of the abundance is going to come through, because ultimately you're operating in love and you're operating in thankfulness, and not operating in this sense of desperation, prayer out of desperation. Oh my gosh, this doesn't work, because you didn't get the result that you want to get the next day. And so I heard this lady who teaches people dating, or young women dating. She asked, people want results, instantaneously. And she was like, okay, well, how long does it take for a baby to gestate in a mother's womb? Oh, 9 months. Okay. So you want something, you want to change, you want abundance in your life, and you expect microwave. It's like, it's not. That's the one thing that I'm also taking away from this, is that I'm getting past the microwave, wanting to, okay, I'm meditating, I'm doing all this stuff. Okay, next week I'm going to be a millionaire. And that can happen, but I haven't really put together a program that will cause me to be a millionaire next week if I haven't done all of the things that Master J. Rue has stated, and put myself in a position of absolute love, absolute light, absolute power, absolute love, absolute bliss, as you would say. So that's one of the things that I have learned very quickly within this past year. And I've been with J. Rue for a long time. So thank you for that. I really understood that, and especially thank you for you're actually in love with you. I don't know if you said it before, but I really didn't understand that until you just said it. So That's an aha moment for me today. Thanks.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce for them aha moments. Yes. Okay. Yay, bo, 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 bo. And I have said it before, but you're at a state of consciousness where you're getting it. And that's why the repetition is so valuable over and over again, you know. In fact, which is one of the books we're going to be reading again also, in Think and Grow Rich, is referred to as auto suggestion. Okay, you auto suggest. You're literally programming yourself. It's an auto suggestion. Okay, and another thing that's in that book, and you know, we're now into the money, wealth, and riches part, and there's going to be a section where we get these different books. Another one's called Money Love, which is a beautiful book that I read years ago, and it really opens up your awareness where you just do things that you love, and then the exchange of value is the result, you know. And I'm gonna give you guys some good stories from that and what have you also, because stories, they stick in your mind, you know, and you get that inspiration, you know. And the other thing is what is called a mastermind. Okay. And the mastermind, and Ron, when he got in his notes, he was talking about that too. I'm gonna talk about how you can do a mastermind, which is what we're doing with physical people, and you can also do a mastermind with beings who are not in this physical realm. Okay, which is a beautiful thing because everything still exists. You see, it just might not be on this plane. You see, and remember, we're a multi-dimensional being, and that's where the whole concept in, you know, the melanated culture comes from, which is called ancestors. Okay, and in other cultures, you know, it's different things, you know, devas and, you know, different things like that, angels, archangels, but they all intertwine, and it's all the frequency and the vibration, you know, thinking like Christ, who was here 2,000 years ago, or like the Buddha, you see. And there's a whole aspect of that you normally don't hear about, which is bringing in what is called an ascended master. Okay. And that can also help you in life. But all those things correspond to a part of you. You see, there are 33 creative impulses within your heart. And out of those 33 creative impulses, there is an energy that manifests outwardly for that. And sometimes, you know, that's like they say, call on Archangel Michael, or call on, you know, Lakshmi, you know, from the Eastern culture. And so those things exist outwardly, but they also exist within. The whole universe is inside of you. So as you get right, as you focus or affirm or pray within yourself, you see, the greatest form of prayer is transcending. You see, then those aspects come alive, and and we always have a team working for us. You know, and they say really successful people have a team. You can't do it all by yourself. And so you have a team, but that team is yourself. That's the paradox. Okay. But as you grow in consciousness, you enliven it more and more. And like you said, William, the discipline. In fact, they said that the discipline is the new currency. All right. Discipline along with attention. Attention is the real currency because of our consciousness. Whatever you put your attention on is going to grow in your life. And that can be conscious or unconscious. And most of the time, it's the unconscious energy on something that brings it about. Because the universe, you know, just like that little book from the 30s, you know, from the 30s, The Game of Life and How to Play It, you see. It's a
Excellent book.
boomerang. Yeah, it's a boomerang. So whatever you put out is going to come back. And as you start to realize that, you know, you're much more careful in what you think, what you say, and what you do. Because you're doing it. You're creating it all. You want to say something, William?
Yes. That particular book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, I wish I had read that book in my 20s.
Yeah,
because I would have not had the friends. I would have not, but this is not a therapy session. But all I'm saying is I wish I read the book. I have to remember that when I go to play. This is not a therapy session. I got you. So I don't want you to cut me off. But all I have to say is that book changed that book really changed my life. And another thing is that, and I want you to explain this, and you probably have already explained it too. Is it not true in some people's cases you have to totally drop
Absolutely.
everything you've been taught from age 5 to whatever your age is, or time is a construct, we know, but whatever your age is today, you have to drop almost everything, that especially that negative thinking, the subconscious negative thinking that's unfortunately in some of our DNA. We don't want to go into that. You've already explained that, but you gotta drop some of that stuff and keep yourself on track with the positive thinking, and then recognize it and then push it away. Because we want something now, but it's going to take a little time, and it's going to take some experience, and it's going to take some discipline, and it's going to take it's going to take. And I think
it's going to take. Yeah, right.
it's going to take. And you may have to study some things. I found a year or two before you. I'm not saying that's going to happen with the people on this live, but I'm just saying it may take a year or two for some people to get it, because you're not in that place and you're not in that space to really have the eyes to see and the ears to hear whatever the message is. I've been with J. Rue, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. I've been with J. Rue since 2016. I have some notes, a lot of notes, but things didn't really click until I sat my behind down somewhere, came up out them streets and really started to listen and go, oh, okay, that's what you mean. Oh, okay, that's what you mean. And then it just, once you're like Dorothy landing in Oz, it goes from black and white to Technicolor, and you are not in Kansas anymore.
Right. There you go. Very, very good analogy. Yep. You're not in Kansas anymore. And you start waking up, being awake, aware, and vibrantly alive. Okay. I am awake, aware, and vibrantly alive. And you start living that life. That's a whole different experience, And so that's the life of you start living that 24-hour bliss. That's the life of cosmic orgasm. Okay. That's the life of illumination, radiation, and just, happy for no reason. You're just happy. You're just blissful. Okay. In my book, I talk about bliss attacks. Most people talk about heart attacks. Okay. I talk about bliss attacks. And the reason why people have the heart attack is because they have a conditioning in their mind, and the stress is built up over the years okay, and literally chokes their heart. Most people die of heart disease or stroke, where you literally choking yourself, right? And this is good people on the surface, but they haven't gotten this stuff out of their subconscious mind. That's why the meditation is so valuable, and doing all these things to keep raising your vibration, you know, putting light into their system, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially, making everything light. Prayer, study, meditation, all that stuff, affirmation, just on and go. It's 108 ways, color therapy, um, gym therapy. I don't just wear these for decoration, even though they're nice decorations, okay? But I'm using them as a technique. You see? Just like Great Juanita, she makes a different necklace every week, okay? All these have value, color therapy, the violet flame, okay? And each planet and each day of the week and even month is associated with something. That's where the whole astrological thing, Aries, Scorpio, all this stuff. And see, there's so many symbols that look, it's 12 signs in the zodiac. Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, remember at the Last Supper, it was the 12 disciples. Okay. So, and all this stuff, 12 times 12 is 144. So we're given all kinds of symbols and great beings that are called avatars come back to remind us, right? And so you're becoming, all of us are avatars, but you got to realize it. And by doing the study, doing the work, doing the meditation, the prayer, doing the service, otherwise known as seva. See, when you do service, you're not thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the ego edging God out. So you want to give as much as you can, and then being open to receive. As we go more into, these weeks and months, one of the next steps we're going to be looking at, how to project the energy out and how to attract it back. We don't chase, we attract. And you're doing that all the time anyway. It's just that you become more and more aware of it, and you actually use technique. Literally, you become like a Boy Scout or Girl Scout. I don't know, some of you back in the day, even though I was in the hood, it was a little church there where there was a Boy Scout thing. And my grandmother, two things I had to do. I had to go to Sunday school. She was like an elder in the church, and do the Boy Scouts, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to run around in gangs. Okay. Some of you from DC, you might remember 14th and U back in the day. I was 3 blocks.
Anacostia, about that life. Mm.
Right, just straight up. Okay. And I was in a little gang. I was in a gang called the Junior Medallion. The real medallions were like, the gangs that exist in Chicago and Compton and places like that. But I was in a junior one, but I got out quick. I mean, it was crazy because, I was with my grandmother, my mama wasn't around, my daddy wasn't around, and, we just tripped. So, we were little young kids in junior high school. We used to, jump people and, get the guy on his paper routes. And I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, there was pinball machines and all like that. We used to take money from people so we could do that stuff. And the karma came back. I remember, you know, I was changing, but you know, I had already done a bunch of that stuff. And then somebody, I went to my cousin's party, and I had to go, you know, through DuPont Circle, you know, the streetcars under the ground. And I got jumped. Like 10, 12 dudes jumped. I had a new little radio and everything. Karma came back because I had been jumping people. Okay. All right. I had been robbing people. And then, you know, I ended up in, you know, at the police station and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you know, I was underage, and my daddy showed up and he said, look, he won't give you no more problem, you know, let him go. And it was little stuff, you know, we were taking, you know, $5, stuff like that. It wasn't no big stuff, and we weren't doing drugs and stuff like that. But from that point on, you know, I used to get literally beat. I think I told you guys the story where I figured out that my daddy, as long as I started crying, he would stop. But when I was a hard head, okay, you know, I'm not gonna cry. He can do whatever he wants. I literally would have whelps all over my body, literally. You know, in these days and times, you know, that's against, you know, child care.
Prison,
right?
Prison.
Yeah, right. But back then, you know, it was deep, and as you can tell, I still have them impressions. He would make me take off all my clothes, so nothing would be in the way of that sting. Have a belt that was about 2 to 3 inches thick. Hold me by my hand and just, no matter where it hit. Okay. But I got hip to it, and literally the first, he used to, you know, do it for, you know, 10, 15 minutes. I'd be like, you know. Soon as he, even sometimes before he touched me, when I felt the belt coming, I would go, I'd start crying. He would stop. You know, my daddy was a good, kind man. So he waited till I cried. Okay. And then he would stop. So, but anyway, it's all good as you wake up. And, you know, it's interesting because the neighborhood I grew up in, 17th and V, they literally moved the precinct, you know, from further down. Used to be on U Street further down, going near Howard University. They moved it to 16th and V, okay, which is 1 block, actually a half a block from where I used to live, okay, because it was so much, you know, you know, just poverty and crime and tripping, you know. But yeah, that's how it is. That's where I chose to come in, okay, and it helped to wake me up. It definitely helped to wake me up, and so all of us come in a different way and different experiences. Some people are woken up through, you know, financial. You know, back in the 30s, people would jump out of windows when they lost money. Literally, they were so caught up in the material world. Some people through health, you know, some people through, you know, relationships, you know. It's different ways that your soul has set up a situation for you to wake up. And in Kali Yuga, most people don't listen. So it happens again and again, or they check out and then they got to get back in line again and start all over again. You see? In fact, there is I saw a really nice thing that was saying the purpose of life. Anyway, I'll give it at the end. Okay, but the purpose of life is waking up. It really is. You go back to your God self. That's the real purpose in life. All this other stuff, it comes and it goes. Okay. Anybody else? Let's do some sharing. Any other takeaways?
To add to what Brother Martin and Brother Williams were saying, it's important to get in what you can get in, because lately I've been having quite a few challenges, and as much as you can get in, it helps to counter those challenges. So, a challenge I'm having right now is to have the discipline to get my work in to be able to counter those challenges.
Very good point.
And
exactly. You got to do the work. Otherwise, they're going to knock you upside your head.
Yeah. You wish you would have.
Right.
And to go with our homework, it's been difficult to find some sun.
I know. As soon as I said that, it started raining.
Right.
It's been raining like every day. It's like,
right.
Yeah. We just do the best we can, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So awesome sauce. Yeah. You to counter the effects, you got to keep going back to cause. Right. We've been taught you got to hustle more or you got to do more. And we're going to look at the same thing, you know, with the money, wealth, and riches, with the opulence, you know, to attract more abundance and abundance coming to you through expected and unexpected ways. You start opening up your awareness to that. Unexpected ways. You have no idea. But you leave it up to the universe, you know, the ego. I mean, you do have to do stuff, as we know. But you want to start getting to the point where you do less and you accomplish more. Okay. And then you do nothing and accomplish everything. So a reminder, the ways that things manifest, there's a Sanskrit word for it. It's called Ritam Bara Pragya. Okay. R-I-T-A-M. Ron got me in the spelling side. Half the stuff I don't know how to spell. But Ritam Bara, I think it's B-H-A-A-R-A. Ritam Bara Pragya. P-R-A-G, Prag, and then Y-A. It stands for that which knows truth. That which knows truth. And the truth is that all the abundance has already been created. Everything has already been created in creation, which is mind-boggling. You know, because we think we're doing this to get that, or, you know, we got to work to get some money, and then we do. Oh, everything has been created. But you got to step into that frequency and that vibration where it exists. Okay. So the first level of Ritam is you think apple. You sit down, you close your eyes, you go into a deeper state of awareness, which is really what they call a theta state. That's where stuff starts creating from. See, from your mother's womb up to about 7, your nervous system and the neural pathways through your brain, okay, are functioning at that level, a theta level. That's the creative attraction level. That's why, you know, some great people, look, whatever person went through from minus 9 months to 7, I can tell you what kind of man or woman they're gonna be, because that conditioning and programming is there. I don't care how old you are, 50, 60, 80, 100. If you don't go in and reprogram that, you're going to be the same way.
Yep.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're going within and changing it. But still, like we're saying, you know, oak tree doesn't grow overnight. You know, it starts off as an acorn, you know, so there is, you know, a gestation period. And that's where the patience comes in. That's where you let go and let God, you see. All right. And then also, you got to take the weeds out. The weeds, the birds, they're going to come, because that's just the frequency that we're in Kali Yuga. You know, we got to get back to that Eden state. But to get back to the Eden state where the lion lays down with the lamb, okay, you got to get yourself right, and then it reflects in the world today. That's why they say that you know your thoughts can lead you to a heaven or they can lead you to a hell. All right. And the more you just do it in terms of the refinement, the work, the guidance, the support, the more you realize the truth, and the truth will set you free. Okay. So it's up to us to go back and reprogram ourselves and to remember the truth, to know thyself. And then once you know yourself, you start to know the truth, and then the truth will set you free. You see? So that's what we're looking at. And we're doing that every day. In and out. You don't stop. You know, it's just like you don't stop eating, keep your physical body going. So you want to keep developing your consciousness, and anything, you know, the books to study in, the meditation, you know, the finer foods, the helping others, the seva. You know, seva means selfless service. You know, serve, because you're serving yourself. And the more you give, the more you receive. As we get into the money thing, we're going to have a whole section on giving and what is called tithing. That's been misconstrued also. Okay. So, and parts of it have been taken, but we're gonna get into that also. And as a means of increasing your abundance. Okay. And not just, you know, tithing to some arbitrary church because you belong to it, or your grandmother or your father or your mother belong to it, or this or that. Okay. Any other good takeaways?
Yes.
Yes, I like that. Yes.
Yes, my takeaway is about, you know, how the brother was saying that money is the effect, not the cause. Money is energy. So even before money came along, we were trading, you know, may trade a cow for something. You know, there were other means of being prosperous besides money, you know, and I feel that in the book, I didn't purchase the book, but I listened to it on YouTube, and he said, money means my own natural energy yield. So there are times where you don't have to have money, you know, you could get a trip somewhere and someone could pay for it. You know, things just happen without money. It's just like he said, the cause and the effect. But the effect could come in different ways, not just by money. And with everything is already here, you know, Like sometimes you may be walking down the street, you thinking, oh, I'm hungry. And then here comes somebody and they give you an apple. You know, you didn't have to put anything into it. You know, someone may just offer you something. And that's the good takeaway. Because we think about, oh, I need money to do this. I need money for this, money for that. But in reality, you don't need the money. You just have to ask your desire and it will just come.
There you go. Beautiful, Erica. Yay, Bo. And also you reminded me, you know, I only gave the first step about, you know, thinking about the apple. Okay. The second step is what you just said. You can be walking down the street and somebody just gives you an apple. That's the second level. Okay. That's sometimes referred to as synchronicities, you know, things that start happening for you. You've heard that thing, you know, being in the right place at the right time, successfully engaged in the right activity. You know, that comes from lining up your nervous system and expanding your consciousness and getting the stress out. And you start, some people call it like luck, but there's no luck. You know, it's you create stuff. Luck is, you know, when you successfully engage in an activity that you create and it comes to fruition. Same thing with miracles. Okay. It's just a untrained mind, because you're manifesting that stuff by being in alignment. But the third level, you know, and you know, it's possible, you know, especially start opening up your mind, is you have a thought for something and then it just manifests right there. Literally. The atoms and molecules rush to fulfill it. So an apple goes whoop, right on your hand. You know, just like in the sci-fi movies and Star Trek and all that, they have what they call replicators. Okay. And you can replicate, you know, some food, or if there's a body part because they got hurt in a war or something, they just replicate it. We literally have that power with our minds. We can replicate anything. You can even revise. You know, I've mentioned that before, but that one is kind of hard to grasp for most people. Even for me. I've done it before, but it takes a lot of discipline. Stuff that's already happened, you can change it.
Yes. And there's another thing that I got from the audiobook, how he talked about how what you wish for others is what you're actually wishing for yourself. You know, if you say negative things about others, you saying it to yourself. I see on social media, you see people that's always complaining, talking about people. You're like, that's you. You're talking about yourself a lot of times. So it's so true. You just, yeah.
It's so true, yeah. And see, that's taking it to the level that it should be. Otherwise, the ego gets in, and ego gets jealous. It gets, you know, you're doing best, you know, you're doing better than me. I don't want to hear about that. Or the thing, you know, I don't know what they call it now, but you know, when I was growing up, it was like, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. You know, this person had this thing, and you want to, you know, and we still have that a lot in the Western culture, especially in the Black culture, because there's been so much poverty. So people want to have the name brands. They want to have the Gucci on their butt, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, because abundance is abundance. Okay. But you start to become a much better steward. And most of the people who's showing a lot of the, you know, the $6,000 bag, and you know, the $10,000 suit and all this kind of stuff. A lot of them don't have it, but they want to show that they have it. You see, it's nothing wrong. In fact, it took me a little while years ago to get around spending $2 million for a car. There's a car that's called Bugatti. That's the low end of a Bugatti. They go up to about 5 million. for a car. Okay. One car. And there's a waiting list. They're handmade. Right. And so they cost way more than a Rolls Royce or Bentley. And most of them are two-seaters. Okay. So, but it's also a thing where, you know, when people create this kind of, I mean, there are yachts that cost $100 million. Okay. With $100 million, I could change the whole world. And that's probably why, you know, I don't have it as yet, but it will manifest. With $100 million, I could set up over 108 knowledge centers around them. And there are people that have yachts, and it costs them 5 and 10 million a year just to maintain it, and they only own it 2 or 3 times a year. So there's a lot of abundance. You just got to step into it. Okay. And so one of the things that we're doing is in this training is helping us to be more open to receive. Being more open to receive. And then you start expanding. It's just like a friend of mine was saying, I don't know, you know, such and such is happening over here with a relative, and that, I want to go over there and check it out. You know, I'm thinking about moving. I said, look, you're wealthy. Okay. You can have a house there. How many wealthy people do you know that only have one house? Why you got to sell that one there and move there? You can be wherever you want to be. But you got to open up your mind to it. Okay. There are people that own an entire island. They own it. They're the mayor, they're the president, they own the whole island. Okay. That's one of the things that I want to do for the Institute, that we have a retreat space and we own the whole island. But see, you got to have that in your awareness. Most people don't think about owning an island. And I found out how I can buy an island for the cost of a house in California. The whole island with the facility on it. Okay. There are banks in the world that if you put in, you got to put in a minimum of $1 million. The average amount is about $5 or $10 million. They will, someone will give you 2 to 3 times that amount of money. Okay. Right back to you. And then they will give you an investment banker to help you invest. You got to invest it. But they'll give you 2 to 5 times the amount. It's kind of hard not to make money when the bank is giving it to you. Okay. But you got to be at that level. Here, they're barely giving you 1% in a year. And there are banks that are giving you millions of dollars and helping you invest it. And those banks, you can invest it in gold, art, gemstones, diamonds, real estate, whatever it is. And they give you the money. You don't have to use any of your own money. But you got to get to that level where you have millions of dollars to put in that bank. You see what I'm saying? And have the awareness. I went to a conference one time in Paradise Island, at that big hotel, was Atlantis. Okay. And the bankers there were saying, look, we got plenty of money. We'll give you the money. But you got to step up to the plate. You see. And that's, again, you got to have a vision. Without vision, the people perish. A vision is literally like a business plan. You got to See, you have the vision, you have the thought, but you also want to create a plan. You know, that's another name for that would be like a treasure map, or you know, you can also put it in vision, a vision board. You can also write it out, or you could do all three. You see, but you start imprinting again. Remember, you're imprinting and on your own consciousness in your own nervous system. They say that neural pathways that, you know, fire together stay together. See, we've been brought up like you got to work so much and, you know, you got to have money to do this and that. No, you don't. OPM, other people's money. But I'm going off into some of our other exercises. And even then, there's ups and downs, but quitters never win and winners never quit. I'm getting some training from a guy right now that he was busted and broke 4 times. Had to live in his car. Remember, some of you might know the story of Tyler Perry. He had to live in his car. Sometimes you got to go for it. But they keep going. And now he's what is called a decamillionaire, which means you have 10 million or more. And he's looking to help, you know, other people to get that and start other businesses. But the thing is, most people look at it's a failure if a business goes down. The wise, conscious person sees it as a stepping stone in growth. Okay, you're growing, you're understanding, and as long as you give something of value to the environment, you will receive back value. Right? So you create value. One of the things we're going to look at during this course too is to help each person to create some multiple streams of income and create some other forms of value. But we also want to look at taking it higher, where I get paid just to exist. Okay? You ain't got to do nothing. Because I exist on this planet, I'm getting abundance, money, wealth, and riches. Okay? But that takes work. Okay? But it is also possible. I get paid just to exist. Remember I was telling you guys I used to do lectures, and I got another one coming. I used to do them every week on TM. And I would say, how many people here earn their living? Everybody would raise their hand. And then I would say, how can you earn your living when you're already alive? People were like, wow. It's a conditioning. Understand, Rockefeller set up the school system for people to be workers, to have jobs. Okay? You got to put up your hand to go to the bathroom. You got to always ask somebody for permission. That's why most people are not entrepreneurs. They're conditioned and programmed. I got to work. I got to do what the master says. Okay? Otherwise, I get beat. Otherwise, I get a bad grade. Otherwise, I can't do nothing. Okay? You're everything. And a bag of chips, and a mango. But you got to step out. You got to be like Grandma Moses. She always wanted to paint. You know, she had kids, grandkids, you know, back in the day where the husband only worked, she was at home all the time. In her 80s, she started painting landscapes. I know you've heard that saying, Grandma Moses. That's what she's known for, is landscapes in the Midwest. And she became very successful, and she gave some value back to society. So it's never too late. You know, you can be 30, 40, 50, 60, 100. I saw a sister when I was in DC, and she used to be a dancer, and they had a special thing. It was a fundraiser for the David Lynch Foundation. Sister was like 100, 200, 103. She got up on stage and start dancing. You know, she was doing ballerina. It's never too late. You can do anything. Okay. There's a part in the third world. I think it's in Africa. It's either in Africa or South America. Deepak Chopra talks about it, where there's a culture there. The older you get, the faster you get. So literally 80-year-old people were outrunning 15 and 18-year-olds. Okay. And they would have their rites of passage. See, that's another thing in the Western culture that's been taken away. Rites of passage as you know, well, some of it is still there. You know, for ladies, debutantes, for guys, it's hardly nothing. But you know, in our indigenous cultures, they would always have rites of passages, and in their rites of passage every year, they'd have a race. You know, but in their minds, the older you get, so 80 and 90, you go, whoa, they were so fast. And it was like, you know, the young boys would say, man, I really tried to knock off, you know, Baba Roo, but I couldn't. It's like he was just too fast. You create your own reality. You can fly. You know, you can walk through walls. There's nothing that you can't do. You see? You can fly throughout the universe at will in your body. Okay? But you got to refine the body enough and open up your consciousness. This thing they tell us about, that's why I was saying one of the things as you get into, you know, PMA, positive mental attitude, you want to take out can't. All right. I can't this, I can't that. You know, you want to take that out. Impossible. There's nothing that's impossible. That's a mistake of the intellect. And then when it does happen, oh, it's a miracle. No, you're using higher laws, but you're still existing within the law. They're universal laws. And that applies for your health, your wealth, your relationships. See, if people really knew about relationships, you know, you wouldn't have 2.5. The average person in America is married 2.5 times. All right. And that's the average. You know, some people are blessed, they stay together their entire life. Okay. But the majority of people, they go 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times. People in Hollywood, sometimes they go 10 and 12. So the average is 2.5. So if people knew about the awareness and not just, you know, I love you as long as you take care of my needs, as long as you do what I want you to do, okay? Everything, all relationships, starting from yourself to anyone else, to person, place, and things, is to take you closer to know, love, and realize yourself, to know, realize, and love God, to take you back home to your God self. All right. And if you can find somebody that you supported in that, you know, it's just conditioning. One of the things, again, I talked about this in the other course, a lot of divorces happen by a woman wearing a diamond ring. People can't even cover it. Oh, you know, put a ring on the finger, like Beyonce said. But do you know the crystal that you're putting on your finger? You see what I'm saying? Knowledge. So if you have a diamond in a malefic house, and malefic is how it sounds, it's not good, all right? And you put a big old diamond on it, you're going to cause dysfunction. That energy, just like the sun comes down, okay, and this would be an ice planet, all the planets have an effect on us. They all certain frequencies and vibrations. So if a lady's wearing a diamond ring, which diamond is a stone for Venus, which most women are more of that feminine part, but we come in with certain challenges. So if you're wearing that diamond ring and it's a malefic, you're going to start causing malefic things happening in your life. Right? So lack of knowledge causes a lot of problems. And then on top of that, in Kali Yuga, it's being perpetuated. The negative, the low life, being angry, being upset, lowering your vibration, all that stuff. The haves and the have-nots. Everybody has, but you got to realize it. Born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Everybody's born with a silver spoon, platinum spoon. But you got to realize it. And once you realize it, it's just like that analogy in the Bible. When the prodigal son comes home, you're going home. Now I am home. And the rightful consciousness has made me wealthy. Yay, Bo. Okay. Anybody else? We're getting around the time where we are, want to give goodwill. But if anyone else want to share any antidote, or because all this is just reinforcement over and over again. And also another thing is I'm doing activations. See, I'm a spiritual mentor. Right? So I've been that way before. Remember the difference between coaching and mentoring. So this program is coaching and it's mentoring. But when we do stuff like that, there's a mentoring going on the spiritual frequency and vibration and enlivening your chakras. That's why we say 95% of it is just showing up. Okay? Because you're getting it. You're getting it. And then you reinforce it by, doing the success work, otherwise, AKA homework, doing the practices, doing your program. It's very important to do your program every day. Don't miss a day. Minimum twice a day, every day. Okay. And just like you were saying, sometimes it takes a while for stuff to show up. Some of you have heard this analogy. I'm going to repeat it again. The bamboo takes 6 years for it to sprout up. But then within something like 6 months, it's like 10 or 12 feet. But if you don't know that, if you don't have the knowledge, you think it hasn't grown. It takes 6 years before the first sprout comes up. You see? That's where the patience and the understanding and the vision and know that God, the universe, has your back. That's when you get patient. You start developing patience. It's not like you got to have everything instantly. But what you do have, which is inside of yourself, is happiness, bliss. You can have that all the time. Okay? And it's your own mind that's blocking you from having that. 24-hour bliss. That's our potential. And you deserve, and definitely should desire, because that's who you really are. To be in 24-hour bliss. Whether it's cold outside, hot outside, whether my baby didn't left me or not. That's it, I mean, it's beautiful music, but most of it is sad. We want to uplift, encourage. We want to be enthusiastic. Enthos means in God, in our higher self. All right. Anything else? Let's give the goodness. Let's
Peace and blessings to all.
yes.
Health and abundance.
Love, light, and bliss to everyone.
There you go.
Thanks.
Love, life, eternal bliss, eternal happiness to each and every one of you,
Yeah.
of us.
Hey, Bo. Awesome sauce. Give it up. Juanita, you got to take yourself off of mute. Stuck, huh? Sayel, you got to take yourself off of mute. If you're still in the room. She's been having problems with her phone and stuff.
All right, giving thanks.
There you go.
Prosperity and
thanks.
abundance.
There you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, well, do the homework, do your program, and I'll see you guys on Monday.
Very inspired. Give thanks.
Give thanks.
Hey,
Thank
Bo.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great
And don't start the 40-day now. You know, just go through the book. We're gonna start the 40-day on Monday. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Peace and blessings.
Peace
Peace.
and bliss.
Thanks. Jay.